I do want to give credit to DEA and law enforcement for doing the investigation and getting it done and getting this guy put behind bars. It's critical.
Investigators say Urias was obtaining and distributing tens of thousands of counterfeit M30 fentanyl pills and large quantities of fentanyl powder, cocaine, and methamphetamine, which contributed to the spike in drug overdoses in and outside of California.
I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm Jason LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need. M30 King of Fresno pleads guilty to fentanyl charges. Mr. Andersen, good to see your smiling face.
Absolutely, Jason. You too. Thanks, man.
And I am, of course, Jason LaChance. Flindt Andersen, the founder of PAIN. You recently were on ABC 30 this last week with our awesome friend. I mean, Nic Garcia. It's been amazing to be on top of what is going on.
Yeah, he's the best.
With the addiction crisis and overdose, I mean, just all of it. So it was a good report. I mean, they really outlined what happened with the 23-year-old Horacio I'm going to butcher the name. Torrecillas Urias Jr. He's agreed, plead guilty to 2 of the 8 charges that were brought forward to him. So, I mean, it was a collective of 17 total defendants, and 16 of them so far have gone through the arraignment process. I mean, it seems to me we're getting a nice shift in the enforcement and you know, jailing these people for these offenses. I mean, how many people could this guy have been responsible for overdosing, let alone died?
Again, we're never going to know that number, but look, I like what you said about a shift. Now we're seeing some of these arrests more and more, but keep something in mind here. Those law enforcement folks had to build a case against them. So these cases against these law enforcement folks, I mean, against these drug dealers, they could have been started 2 years ago. Right. So if there's ever a lull in arrests because of this, that does not mean that law enforcement or, you know, again, the DA's office, prosecutors, does not mean that they're not doing their jobs. They are getting everything perfectly lined up. So when they finally bust through the doors, all their ducks are in a row, off they go to jail, and now their chances of conviction go extremely high because they've got those ducks in a row.
Yeah. The due process, which sometimes is great when it comes to our legal system, and other times the wheels of justice move much slower than we would like.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I actually want to play the story for folks here. I do have it. You can watch it, of course, if you're on the YouTube channel. If not, go to our YouTube channel at PAIN Nonprofit, subscribe, and you can watch this here. I want to do the report that Nic did because these arrests were around the Homeland Security's October 2023 Operation Killer High, which, interestingly enough, was named after ABC's original Killer High documentary, which I think a familiar face was in there.
Yeah, I was definitely in that one.
So here was the report that Nic Garcia put together.
The self-proclaimed M30 King of Fresno has agreed to plead guilty to 2 federal charges related to distributing fentanyl. Investigators say he supplied the toxic pills that caused a spike in fentanyl-related overdoses. Action News anchor Nic Garcia joins us live in studio with how much time in prison he faces and what the agreement means to the fight against fentanyl. Nick?
Well, Warren, Horacio Torrecillas Urias Jr. was arrested in October of last year as part of Homeland Security's Operation Killer High. He was facing a total of 8 charges. He's now agreed to plead guilty to 2 of them. Tuesday, the U.S. Department of Justice announced 23-year-old Horacio Torrecillas Urias Jr. agreed with prosecutors to plead guilty to a charge of distribution of 400 grams or more of fentanyl and 1 count of conspiracy to distribute fentanyl. He was one of the high-profile arrests resulting from Homeland Security's Operation Killer High, named after ABC 30's original documentary Killer High. Urias faces a minimum of 10 years and a maximum of life in prison.
First of all, it's going to save a lot of lives.
Flindt Andersen, advocate and founder of Parents and Addicts in Need, says arrests and prosecutions like this help the greater cause of getting fentanyl off the streets.
I obviously don't think that that's enough, but I do want to give credit to DEA and law enforcement for doing the investigation and getting it done and getting this guy put behind bars. It's critical.
Investigators say Urias was obtaining and distributing tens of thousands of counterfeit M30 fentanyl pills and large quantities of fentanyl powder, cocaine, and methamphetamine, which contributed to the spike in drug overdoses in and outside of California. Operation Killer High also resulted in charges for 17 other defendants. All but one have now pleaded guilty.
Whatever we can get off the street, whoever we can put in jail or prison over this, that is always a good step.
And that one remaining co-defendant, Alma Garza, is set for trial, which will begin at the end of this month. As for Urias, he's scheduled to be sentenced December 2nd.
These kind of things, I know some people may not agree with us in how important the law enforcement side of the addiction crisis is and the fentanyl crisis, but you and I are, I don't know other term to use other than we back the blue.
Yeah.
And I mean, Homeland Security doing an amazing job, like you said just before we played that report, putting their ducks in a row, the due process to make sure that these things can stick.
Right.
And I think it's a positive sign. I think we're seeing a shift in policy when it comes to public safety.
I think we're seeing a little bit. And what I really like about law enforcement, if you remember, I was at the DEA summit in Sacramento 3 months ago. And what I really liked hearing up there was not just about law enforcement. It was about how they are truly educating their officers, their administrators, whoever it might be, about the treatment side of this. And that these officers and people that are working there understand what addiction is and what it's going to take to get somebody the help that they need. I really believe that we have kind of turned the corner on that to some degree. You know, again, the old days, and again, I'm an old guy, you know, so you know, back in the 60s, 70s, hell, even the 80s, you know, it was like, just arrest them and throw them in jail, and who gives a shit, right? Yeah. Today's a little different, just because, and that means when we say fentanyl has changed the game, that's one of the reasons why, what we mean by it. You know, I have never seen a drug, even the cocaine back in the 80s and 90s. I've never seen a drug change society in so many different ways than fentanyl.
Yeah.
Because it's that strong, it's that potent, it's that deadly, you know, that if people don't understand all sides to the fentanyl issue, we might as well just not do anything at all.
I think it's interesting to, I was talking to a gentleman who's made some contributions to our organization. He works in economics, but he doesn't understand this as well. So we were having a conversation because he wants to understand. He's got teenage kids, same age as mine. And we were really looking at it from that. And I asked him some different philosophies on, goods and services and the supply and demand side. And I see this shift that you were talking about, a focus on before. Our approach to the thing was, well, we can cut demand by locking those people up, and then we'll attack simply the supply side. Well, we've been overrun by the supply side. Policies brought us that. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell people. I know we're in a weird political climate right now, but it's just fact.
It is.
It's just fact. But I'm so encouraged by the look at the demand side and law enforcement understanding that too. Like, people aren't going to use it if they don't want to. Like nobody, there are very few where we're at now. We saw it back, years ago when you were really getting loud about it a decade ago that, hey, this is coming. It's getting into the supply, but now it is the demanded drug.
Right.
We have gotten away from the majority. There are still some, and I'm not negating that or anyone that's passed from it, but that accidental is getting less and less of the occurrences we're seeing of the deaths. A lot of it is they are straight fentanyl addicts, a derivative of trank, whatever it is. That is their drug of choice. And we have to do something about why in the first place are these people using. So I'm really encouraged to hear how much law enforcement wants to understand that treatment side.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Most of them speaking about DEA here. Okay. Look, our district attorney here in Fresno has done an amazing job of training, or being involved with our officers, and, Dean Cardinal, the same with our Fort team. These officers understand or they're at least beginning to understand that there is a treatment side to this. I know some of the higher ups, they get it, I'm just very, very encouraged by all that. You said something. Now, of course, again, I'm Methuselah, so it already left my head.
I wonder how I paid Methuselah. I don't know the last time I heard that.
I mean, for those that don't know Methuselah, what the guy lived like I don't know, 700 years or something in the Bible, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know where that one came from.
See, you're still sharp, BS. You're still sharp, man.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, again, you're talking about the accidental overdoses. To be honest with you, we're not. At least I'm not hearing much on accidents anymore. I mean, obviously, I think they're still out there, to some degree. I got to say, right now, I still think it's more of the addict or even the casual user, that this is happening to, but we also have to give credit where credit's due. There are overdose deaths are down in certain counties across this country simply because of the Narcan program. And what we've done there, what other organizations have done there in providing Narcan. I heard something kind of disturbing Wednesday night that, and without mentioning any names, maybe we will at some point, but there are still school districts that refuse to even have it in any classroom. And they have it in the nurse's station, because I received a call from one of these schools and said, hey, can you come out in the next couple of weeks and educate us on this? And I said, absolutely, I will. So the point here is not everybody that needs to be involved in this is either on the same page or wanting to be involved in helping everybody with this problem.
Yeah.
And that to me is almost criminal.
Well, in fact, I mean, to a certain extent it is. We did talk about Melanie's law not that long ago that went into effect at the end of last year that was requiring all these school districts to have a plan in place and procedures. And I would find it hard pressed. I have yet to be able to find the full language of that. let alone I'm not a lawyer to be able to tear through it. My ADHD and dyslexia, I'd be like, Flindt, I don't know. I think they're really effing it up and doing it wrong. But I would find it hard pressed to believe that the language that is included in that doesn't involve Narcan. And why not in every class? If you can get it, I mean, Payne has proven we can help you get it.
We can help you get it, and they can get it.
Yeah.
Right? They can get it.
They're part of the state.
They're part of the state. You bet.
I mean, we are more than happy to come to each and every organization that's asked of us to, do a training, provide. I mean, that's what we do under your leadership, educate, advocate, and we're there for you. But
you bet. Every time.
It just, I think society is getting wiser to it. I think a lot of the radicalness of it all is going away. There is some more pragmatic thinking around it. And again, yeah, right. We hope after what we've gone through for the last 5 years.
Yeah. I'm interested to know if this Mr. Urias, this 23-year-old, if he is a homegrown individual, or if he was implanted from, another country or another state from somewhere. That would be interesting to me, to find out. Because if he's a homegrown kid, I would assume he's been selling drugs a hell of a lot longer than 2 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this is 23 years old, and usually these things don't all of a sudden happen where at 21 you go, yeah, I'm going to make a shift.
Right.
I'm going to, I was doing okay in college and as a waiter, but I'm going to just go sell fentanyl.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but again, we talk about this a lot. The money's too good. The money's too good. And if you're dealing with some young person that doesn't have much going on in their life, and they don't have that, they don't have that family stability, I mean, my gosh, it's almost like you can't blame them. I mean, I think it's evil. I think it's ridiculous. Okay. It no question about it. But you just got to ask yourself, where did, and again, it's look, I don't think it's society's responsibility to raise every kid. Okay. I think there's responsibility kind of falls into certain categories. Obviously it falls under parents. It falls under their family. It falls under some schools. All right. But I don't think it's just society. You can, because let me tell you something. I know plenty of people that have grown up poor. They didn't wind up drug dealers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they just didn't. And I know a lot of guys. I mean, I was pretty fortunate as a kid, but we also weren't in that upper echelon. And I had friends that were living in areas that you really wouldn't want to live in. But these guys didn't turn out to be drug dealers. Yeah. They worked hard, they got their educations, and they succeeded. So again, in today's world of fast money, fast cars, fast women, fast everything, we have to take a look at that. Again, old school, but that's the way I believe on this, and I'm not changing for anybody.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think that how do I use this without attacking anything? It's kind of like the trophy generation, right? Everybody got a trophy, and life just doesn't work that way. Like these things that we have to, these things that we earn in life. I think there's just a lot of internal emptiness going on with, not all we've met, and heck, even things that I've gone to you with, where you've spoken at some of these schools, some amazingly switched on young men and women. I mean, just extraordinary young individuals. But I think, sometimes it's kind of hard to find a goal. an attachment to that story. Well, my family thinks I'm stupid. My dad took off, or my mom took off, or neither one of them is present. I don't want to see like my grandma or grandpa grinding out the way that they do. Well, okay, I want a new pair of Jordans. I want a car. I want all these things. And I could see where someone could easily go awry in that type of situation.
Sure.
I'm not making an excuse for it, but I understand why it happens.
I understand why it happens too. I mean, you look, you show a kid with no support system whatsoever and no job and the same pair of tennis shoes, he or she's been wearing for the last 2 years, and you show him a stack of hundreds or a check from McDonald's. The hell do you think they're going to take? 7 or 8 times out of 10, they're going to take the stack.
Yeah.
And that's because that's what they see.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
Look, the fentanyl dealer, that to me is a whole nother issue, because that's dealing in almost instant death without a moral compass bone in their body. And that's the reality of it. They don't care if somebody lives or dies. And that's always been an interesting statement to me, because I've had people come up to me and go, why are people selling a drug that's going to kill their client? And I give several reasons. And I say the standard one is that because there's 10 more people behind that person that they're going to sell to. But the real answer and or discussion that should go with that is, why are they doing it? Why don't they care about human life? That's the deeper question, is why don't they care about human life? Have they been treated that bad? Are they that evil? Or do they just don't have a brain cell in their head? What's the answer to that? And we're not given any answers. Again, I'm not particularly asking for it, because I've got my own answers to some of these questions.
Sure.
But it's like, again, I'm becoming a TikTok freak, and I know a lot of that's a bunch of crap, but when I'm watching those videos of somebody, I was watching one this morning that a guy got life in prison for attempted murder. Now, some of the statements on there, really life for attempted murder? I mean, that's a comment, okay? Right. Or in the background, his mother is crying and wailing and saying what a good boy he is. What?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't get it.
I'm empathetic to the fact that your child is going away, man, but your veil of ignorance doesn't outweigh the law.
Right? I mean, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
When something like that gets said, so, but look, drug dealers have been around forever. Okay. Since time immemorial, they've been around. And so kind of going back to the society thing for a minute, I think societally, I mean, it's been that way, and I don't know if that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
We're always going to have something that somebody wants.
Yeah, there's always going to be a demand for something to escape with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, drugs and alcohol have just always been a really easy one, and even culturally a part of it, like we talked about a while back on an episode, or there was almost a rite of passage to it at some point. I mean, who can drink the most before they, puke or
Right.
or keep their liquor down, or I mean, I hung out with guys into our 30s, some of them in their 50s, that was still the same thing. It's like, are you serious? More than half our life is gone and we're still operating in this juvenile way.
Right.
That whole, it's like in the big book for Alcoholics Anonymous, the attempts to drink like a gentleman. Oh, that stuff went out the door.
Out the window.
Yeah, long ago.
It's out the window a long time ago. Yeah.
And I think you're on to your point about drug dealers. This has just become the next thing that it's their cheapest supply. It creates a good profit margin. But let's not act like all of a sudden now this is the first time that drug dealers are ever selling anything that's going to kill people. I mean,
Right.
cocaine, crack cocaine, heroin. Go back, take a look at it all. Some people died, just not to the extent that it is now.
Right. And you can even go back and you can throw doctors into that category because of the OxyContin mess and what Purdue Pharma did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the conversation we had, I can't remember her name, with that did the Purdue Pharma case a couple of weeks ago, and how those doctors, I mean, just kept writing Matthew Perry the scripts and gave him more and more and more. I mean, to me, that's, that's definitely, they had a part in his murder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even to the point of where they were so corrupt, they were connected to someone that was illegally obtaining.
Yeah.
The ketamine, the ketamine queen of Los Angeles.
Right. I mean, who grows up and says, I'm gonna be the ketamine queen of LA? All right. I'm gonna be the Pablo Escobar of the fentanyl trade. I mean, look, I get it. There's people like that out there, I don't know. We just have to focus on what we do and what other organizations do and law enforcement. We just have to tackle this the best way that we can. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'd like to just, have an F-15 fly over certain areas and just bomb the shit out of them. Okay. And say, that's it. The other piece of me is, let's don't stoop to their level, kind of a thing as Americans. And again, this isn't a political issue. This is a moral issue. So I think we all struggle with that. Do we bomb the shit out of them? Okay. Or do we try to go about this another way, to get some sort of handle on it and to corral these people somehow, some way. That's just kind of my take.
Yeah.
On that whole piece. And I'm sure it's a different story. If I don't care what the circumstance, okay, accidental overdose, not an accidental overdose, whatever. Okay. It's a different story for parents that have lost a loved one. I'm sure most parents, especially their initial response is, let's bomb the hell out of them. Let's take them all out. By the way, then I'm on their side. But we've just as much as we're not hearing, where there's not really a whole lot of discussion, at least that you and I are seeing on this epidemic. I mean, politicians aren't talking about it. I'm sure there's a couple out there somewhere, but I certainly haven't heard them, not in this city or not in this state for quite some time. Seems pretty quiet in Sacramento about it.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself that question also, why?
Yeah.
Especially election time around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I have my theories. I'm a follow the money guy, and I just think that I like to tell this story for to give people context when it comes to lobbyists, I worked in radio for 20 years. And if I had taken a single cent to play a song on air, I was subject to arrest and in full investigation. But lobbyists can go in and support campaigns and do all this other BS for politicians, and they're not going to.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of why I want to commend people like Nic Garcia, ABC 30, and the other news stations that do cover this. You're not seeing it on the national news. Why? Because their biggest advertisers are pharmaceutical companies, where you get the nice thing about the results may vary, side effects will all vary, by the way.
Right.
And they're not going to talk about it. They're not going to. They're not going to. Matter of fact, I can't even pay attention to national news. I don't even know what they do anymore.
I don't watch it anymore.
No,
because you're right. I mean, the times that I have seen it, they're not discussing the fentanyl issue. They discuss the border issue, but it's always some BS.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I don't know. It's we're in some weird times.
Yes, sir.
But let's keep thanking law enforcement and our prosecutors for doing their jobs and getting some of this stuff done. And I know there's people out there that probably say, well, you know what? I mean, who cares? They didn't stop that much, or blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you all folks something. All right. If it saved one life, if it saved 5 or 10 lives, guess what? Then it does matter. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It does matter. And if you don't believe me, then let's see what you would say if your child died from any type of overdose.
Yeah.
And what your response would be then. Because
Absolutely.
I'm sure somebody would blame the police or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the legal side of this for it.
Wonder why more wasn't done.
Right. Of course.
And we as a collective, we are the more,
Right.
you know, so.
Right.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit, Mr. Andersen. We want to thank so many generous people thus far, and we still have time with the Granville Home of Hope.
Yeah. I mean, gotta love Granville and what they do, and Darius Assemi and his staff over there. It's again, for those that don't know, Granville Homes gives away a free home every year to some lucky winner. It's never been us. And
It has been people that have bought tickets from Payne, though.
But we have had people that bought tickets from Payne that have actually won the house and have won the car. It happens every year, and it benefits 9 nonprofits. The sales of the tickets, we get all 9 nonprofits get to keep 100% of the profits of those tickets sold. So it is an enormous help to us 9 nonprofits to get this done and to sell as many tickets as we possibly can. I just have a lot of respect for Darius and Granville, and you know, everything that they do for this community. So give us a call. We'll sell you a ticket or 10, you know, whatever you want to buy. And yeah, it's all good stuff.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you can get that bundle where it also gets you in the running for a 2-year lease on a Lexus from Lexus Air in Fresno. And so, you know, hey, some good options. And like Flindt said, it all goes back to all the 9 charities. So just wonderful and honored that we're involved with Granville again.
Right. Yeah. Gotta love those guys.
Mr. Andersen.
Mr. LaChance. Here we are. You know, it's I think summer's finally coming to an end a little bit here, although the temperature has risen again in Fresno to a smooth 105. Everybody's getting a little tired of it, but yeah, fall's right around the corner. We're looking for some good stuff that's going to be happening this fall for the Payne organization and for those of us that are working in recovery. Look, we just hope that for everybody out there, if you got to get some help, give us a call. You know, we're more than happy to help you, try to find a place, try to get you some support if you need it. Take care of yourselves, please, until you make that phone call. All right. But let me tell you something, both Jason and I can attest to this. Sobriety's good. you know, no matter what you're going through, no matter what the challenges are, and you'll have them. All right. But life is still good.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you all for listening or watching the Don't Hide the Scars podcast brought to you by Pain. And please, if you get value out of it, continue to share with other people. That's how we continue to grow. And we just want to say thank you. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.